What's up, everybody? So the next sign I want to go through in the IC and the fourth house is Taurus. And if you have Taurus in the IC or the fourth house, this video is definitely for you. Taurus rules our values, and it is a sign of stability, a sign of comfort, the five physical senses. It's also a very stubborn sign, and it can be very set in its ways. So we'll start with that statement right there. If you have this at your IC or your fourth house, your parents were very set in their ways, either one of them or both of them. And where this can, clash is that if you're not truly buying into that system. So in your household, because Taurus is the sign of stability and comfort, everything was very stable on the outside and comfortable. So you were never wanting for anything with this placement. Everything was given to you. Everything was, you had a lot. However, spiritually, that's not always the case. Outwardly, materialistically, you had a lot, but spiritually, you may have felt very destitute in a sense. So in this household, the routines, the structures, the conversations, the day-to-day were all very much the same. And there was a lot of black and white thinking in the household that, not much room for gray area. And if you even thought about disagreeing or you thought about going against these routines and structures and you deviated from them, you were punished in some sort of way. So that would make you feel very misunderstood in a household like this growing up, for better or for worse. One way you can imagine this is in the movie Pleasantville or Leave It to Beaver, something like that, where it's the same sort of structure and routine daily that you're going through. That everyone's dressed the same, everyone talks the same, everyone does the same thing. And if you at all disagree with that, you're either looked down upon or you're punished in some sort of way. Also with the Taurus IC, money and real estate become a very high focal point in this placement in particular. So your parents probably had a lot of money. However, because they're traditional and because they're kind of more modest in their thinking, they may not have talked about it. You may not know how much money you actually have or your parents actually had. And maybe it wasn't talked about. But you always had nice things. You were never wanting for anything. Maybe you went on nice vacations, or people were jealous of you in some sort of way because you had those nice things. But again, inside you just didn't feel like you had much because you felt a little inauthentic in the system that you were in. Also, real estate is a big thing with this placement as well. So your parents may have land, or they may own various real estate as well. So your parents could own apartment buildings. They could own trailer parks. They could own anything real estate wise that is adding value and adding abundance and bringing in passive income is all Taurus's domain. So in this way, as you grow up and as you go through adolescence, everything seems good, in Pleasantville. Everything seems fine from the outside, but inside you're just there has to be more than this. There has to be more to life than this boring routine structure every single day. Eating the same things, having the same conversations, listening to the same music. And this is where Taurus can get very stubborn, set in its ways, and rigid. And so whenever we look at an IC, we then have to look at the MC, which is at the very top of the chart, which is your career, your destiny, your mission in life. And eventually, you have to grow out of the IC and reach that point. Now, a lot of us are pushed to that point. And this sign in particular is pushed to that point. And the earth signs in particular are pushed to this point. Because it is a water sign now at the top of the chart. So the sign at the top of the chart now is Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about passion. It's about intensity. It's about living in the moment. It's about changing things and disrupting and destroying. So it's the sign of destruction as well. So you may have this sense that you just want to burn all of it down. You just want to burn that motherfucker down. And I'm wearing like the Bluth banana shirt because Michael Bluth is a good representation of a Taurus IC. So if like you look at the Bluth household, it's very much the same every single time. Everyone has the same conversations. Everyone has the same mindset, and it drives Michael insane. And he wants to get away from that. And so he does these different things to like get himself away from his family. Like that's what he wants to do throughout the entire series. But the tendency here is that you go so far up here that it's all about passion. It's all about intensity. It's all about like destroying what, your roots in a sense. And so you can go overboard with this. And then you can feel that if anyone ever tries to put any sort of pressure on you, any sort of like, these are the values we follow, or this is what we do, you push it away and you want to burn it down immediately because of your reminders from childhood. So the key here, and also like you can be very manipulative with Scorpio to maintain power. So Scorpio is like the power struggle sign. So here in your career or out in the world, like you could have these manipulative tactics to really try to convince people otherwise, rather than like, get caught in another system and another value system that you just don't believe in. So the key here is to figure out what you are passionate about and really employ that in your life. And you kind of have to go back and forth between the IC and the MC, like as you get older, to balance the two out. But with the IC, to go back to it, when you have your own home or your own space, what's important is that you define your own value system. So the question when you were younger was not that like, you didn't necessarily like being comfortable or you didn't like being, stable and secure. It comes down to authenticity. What is authentic to you? And more than any other sign, this is really important here, especially at the IC. So in your home, you determine now what your home looks like. You determine what kind of colors you want in your home. You determine what kind of fabrics you want in your home. You determine what couch you want to put in the room. You determine what TV you want. You determine what, how you want to paint the house. You determine if you want a hot tub. You determine if you want, to have a lawn to take care of, or if you just don't want a lawn and you want to put a koi fish pond in there instead. So it becomes like, how do I create my ideal living space? Because that's what Leave It to Beaver is, or Pleasantville. Like, it's an idealization. And so, like, what is your idealization? What is your Pleasantville? And also, like, you don't want to get caught in the Bluth household. It's funny to watch, but like, as Michael wants to do, he wants to create his own home. He wants to create his own family. And so, like, that's up to you now if you have this IC sign. So, like, thinking about like the 5 physical senses, like, do you want candles in your home? What kind of smells do you want? What do you want to cook? What do you want to see? What do you want to hear on a daily basis? Maybe your parents were just staunch Republicans and they had Fox News on all the time, and you don't want to hear that anymore. You just want to hear NBC or CNN or whatever, or you want to hear NPR and want to hear like a more balanced perspective. It doesn't matter, but you are the one who determines now whether or not you want this or you want that. And so once you've determined that and you feel like stable and secure in your own home, you can then go into your career and go into like this other place where like you can just be passionate. You don't have to be manipulative. You don't have to have power struggles or anything like that. It is all about the passion of like, I'm really settled and stable here, and I'm going to bring my passion out in my career. And all that does is just like, both of these are money signs. So the money just starts to flow, you know, in each direction like a current in the ocean. So you have this ability to, like, you know, determine what you value, and then follow your passion, and then just let the two feed each other, so that, you know, you don't become too set in your ways like your parents. And that is the trap, is like, change every once in a while. Don't get set in your ways like your parents, because that can be the tendency. And you could take their values and take their beliefs and take what they believed and put them into your homes unconsciously. So you could be doing that especially when you're at home. Not so much in the world, but especially when you're at home. So you have to reevaluate that. You have to reevaluate and see, like, okay, am I doing what I want to do, or am I doing what my parents did, and that is just something that's left over and it's a residual effect? So be mindful of your own values. Okay, I hope you got a lot out of this. And Gemini IC is next with a Sagittarius MC. And I will see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.